The city lights were bright, but in one dark corner of the market, two small alien orphans sat together, holding each other tightly. Their eyes were big and sad, their clothes were torn, and their stomachs growled with hunger. No one stopped to ask if they were okay. People walked past them as if they were invisible. The older one, a thin alien boy with green skin and silver marks on his cheeks, tried to comfort his younger sister. She was smaller, with glowing blue eyes that still carried hope, but her hands shook as she clutched a broken piece of cloth. It was the last thing left from their mother. "Don't cry," the boy whispered softly. But his own voice trembled. He looked at the crowd moving around them, the tall alien merchants shouting, the buyers laughing, the guards patrolling. Nobody wanted to look at two orphans sitting in the dirt. "Nobody cared," the girl whispered back. "Brother, why don't they like us? Why don't we have friends?" The boy had no answer. His heart hurt. He had tried before to play with other children, but they pushed him away. They called him names. They told him he didn't belong. Now he only sat in silence, protecting his sister from the cruel world. The wind grew colder that night. The market lights began to dim. Merchants packed their stalls. The two orphans pulled each other close for warmth. Their small hands rubbed together, but still their bodies shook from the chill. In the distance, laughter echoed. Not their laughter, not laughter they shared. It was the laughter of children who had parents, who had food, who had friends. Each laugh cut into the boy's heart like a knife. He tried to stay strong. He told his sister stories. Stories about how one day someone would see them, someone would smile, someone would take their hand, but even as he spoke, he wondered if it was only a lie. The younger girl's stomach growled loudly. She pressed her hands against her belly and whispered, "I'm hungry, brother." The boy stood slowly. His legs were weak, but he looked around. He tried to beg. But when he reached out, the people turned their faces away. Some even looked angry, as if his very existence was a crime. Finally, he sat down again beside his sister. His eyes filled with tears. He wiped them away quickly so she would not see. He wanted to be strong for her, but inside he was breaking. That was when something unusual happened. In the middle of the busy street, a pair of human eyes looked at them. A human child, maybe not much older than the alien boy, stood frozen, watching them carefully. The boy felt nervous. Humans rarely came close. They usually stayed with their own kind. But this human child did not look away. He did not laugh. He did not sneer. Instead, the human child stepped closer. His steps were slow, careful, as if he knew the orphans might run away. He carried something in his hands, a small bag, and the smell of food drifted from it. The alien boy's heart raced. He pulled his sister close, whispering, "Stay back, don't trust him. He might hurt us," but the girl, innocent and hopeful, peered from behind her brother's shoulder. Her glowing eyes met the human child's, and for the first time in so long, she saw kindness there. The human child knelt down, close enough to see the dirt on their faces, but not so close that they felt trapped. He placed the bag on the ground and pushed it gently toward them. Neither orphan moved. They stared at the bag as if it were a trick. Their hearts wanted the food, but their minds feared betrayal. The human child smiled softly and whispered, "It's okay, it's for you." His voice was calm, gentle, like the sound of rain after a storm. The girl tugged at her brother's arm. "Brother, he's different. Can we trust him?" The boy didn't answer. He didn't know. All his life, nobody had offered them a single thing, and now, in the middle of the cold night, a stranger was offering them food. The human child waited patiently. He didn't push, he didn't force. His eyes showed only kindness. The market around them grew quieter. The crowd was fading, but in that one corner, a silent question hung in the air. Would the orphans take the hand of a human child who dared to notice them? The boy's heart pounded. His sister's eyes sparkled with a faint light of hope. The bag of food sat between them like a test of destiny. And then, suddenly, the sound of angry footsteps echoed down the street. Alien guards were moving closer, their voices sharp. "What's happening here?" The boy froze. His sister clutched his arm tightly. The human child looked up at the guards, his small fists tightening. For the first time that night, the orphans felt something strange, maybe danger, maybe salvation. They didn't know yet, but their lives were about to change forever. The guards' heavy boots struck the ground, their voices sharp and cold as they scanned the alley. The orphans' hearts sank. They had been chased away before, beaten for standing too close to the market, scolded for simply existing. The boy pulled his sister tighter against him, whispering, "Don't move, don't say anything." His hands shook, but his eyes burned with silent defiance. The human child stood between the guards and the orphans. His small frame looked fragile, yet his back was straight. The guards frowned, one of them growling, "Human boy, why are you wasting food on these strays?" "They are nothing." The words stabbed through the orphans' hearts. But the human child didn't flinch. Instead, he lowered his head slightly and replied with a calm voice, "They are hungry, and they are not nothing." The guards exchanged a glance. One laughed cruelly. "You humans are strange, you care too much. But don't say we didn't warn you. If you protect them, trouble will follow you too." With that, the guards walked away, their mocking voices fading into the night. The silence left behind felt heavy, but also different, like a test had just been passed. The human child turned back, his eyes soft again. He pushed the bag of food forward, this time opening it slightly. The smell of warm bread drifted out, simple yet enough to make the orphans' stomachs twist with desperate longing. The boy hesitated, his hands trembling. He wanted to snatch the food and run, yet something in the human's face stopped him. There was no trick, no cruelty, only honesty. The little girl was the first to move. Her tiny fingers reached out cautiously. She tore a piece of bread and pressed it to her lips. The taste made her eyes water. She chewed quickly, as if afraid someone would take it away. For the first time in months, her face lit with a small smile. The human boy chuckled softly. "See? It's real, it's safe." His voice was warm, like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. The alien boy watched his sister eat, his guard still high. But slowly his hand reached for the bag too. His pride told him to resist. But hunger and the stranger's kindness were stronger. He broke a piece of bread and ate quietly. His lips trembled, not from fear this time, but from the strange feeling of being cared for. The human child sat down on the cold ground beside them. Ignoring the stares of a few passers-by, he pulled a small wooden toy from his pocket, a carved figure of a bird with painted wings. He placed it gently in front of the girl. "For you," he said. The girl's eyes widened. Her glowing blue gaze fixed on the toy as if it were treasure. The alien boy frowned, unsure if they could accept such a gift. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice rough, filled with suspicion. "Why do you care about us? We are nothing to you." The human child shook his head firmly. "No, you are not nothing. You look lonely. You look like you need a friend." He smiled then. Not a mocking smile, not pity, but a real smile that reached his eyes. That smile was like a spark in the cold darkness. The girl clutched the toy tightly. Her small shoulders shaking with emotion, she whispered, "Brother, he's our friend." The boy looked at her, then at the human child. His heart fought against the walls he had built. Could it be true? Could someone really want to be their friend? He felt a warmth inside, something he hadn't felt since before their parents were gone. The three of them sat together quietly, the noise of the market fading behind them. For the first time, the orphans weren't invisible. For the first time, they weren't alone. But even as the warmth of food and friendship began to heal their hearts, shadows of doubt still lingered. The boy thought of the guard's warning, of the cruel children who mocked them. What if others tried to take this away? What if this human child's kindness turned into pain later? Yet when he looked at his sister, her face glowing with joy as she hugged the toy bird to her chest, and when he looked at the human child's smile, steady and brave, he felt something shift. His fear was still there, but hope had started to grow beside it. The human child broke the silence again. "What are your names?" The boy hesitated, as if saying his name aloud would make him vulnerable. But the girl answered softly, "I'm Lyra, and this is my brother Kale." Her voice carried pride, as if introducing someone important. The human boy grinned. "Lyra, Kale. I'm Ethan." He held out his hand, small but steady. "Let's be friends." Kale stared at that hand, his thoughts racing. This moment felt heavy, like a choice. His sister's eyes pleaded with him. Ethan's eyes invited him, slowly, with a trembling breath. He reached out and touched Ethan's hand. A human smile met alien loneliness, and in that simple gesture something unthinkable happened. A bond formed in a place where no one thought it could exist. Far above, the city lights flickered as if the world itself was watching this new beginning. And yet in the shadows nearby, a pair of alien eyes watched them with quiet malice. Someone was not happy about this strange friendship. The morning sun rose over the alien city, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. The streets slowly filled with merchants and shoppers, but in a quiet corner of the square, 3 children sat close together, 2 alien orphans and 1 human child. Their world had changed in a single night, and though Cale still felt uncertain, Lyra's laughter told him that something new had begun. Ethan, the human child, pulled a small round ball from his bag. It was simple, stitched leather, worn from use but full of life. His eyes sparkled as he held it up. "Do you want to play?" he asked. Lyra's eyes widened, her tiny hands already reaching toward it, but Cale frowned. His instincts told him to protect his sister, to stay away from strangers' games. Yet deep inside, a spark of curiosity stirred. Ethan tossed the ball gently. It bounced and rolled toward Lyra. She caught it awkwardly and hugged it close. Her giggle echoed softly, drawing smiles from a few who passed by. Kyle watched with guarded eyes, but when Lyra threw the ball back and it landed at his feet, he froze. The weight of choice pressed on him again. "Go on," Ethan said with an encouraging smile. "Throw it back." Kyle bent down slowly, picked up the ball, and for the first time in so long, felt something other than fear or hunger. He threw it, not perfectly, not smoothly, but enough. The ball wobbled through the air and landed in Ethan's hands. Ethan laughed, not mockingly, but with joy. "Good one." The 3 of them began to play, tossing the ball back and forth, at first slow and cautious, but soon faster, lighter, filled with laughter that spread into the air. Lyra's giggles were bright and pure. Ethan's cheer was fearless. Even Cale, despite his heavy heart, began to smile without realizing it. The shadows inside him weakened with each throw, but not everyone shared their joy. A group of alien children gathered nearby. Watching with narrowed eyes, they whispered among themselves, their voices sharp. "Look at them, the orphans found a human pet. How pathetic." Their laughter was cruel, but louder this time. Kyle stiffened, his smile fading. Ethan noticed. He caught the ball and turned toward the mocking children. His small fists tightened, but he didn't shout. Instead, he called out boldly, "Do you want to play too?" The alien children scoffed. "Play with them? With orphans? With you?" They sneered, turning away with loud laughter. Their cruelty hung in the air, pressing down on Cale's chest like a weight. He lowered his eyes, ready to end the game, but Ethan wouldn't allow it. He stepped closer to Cale, pressed the ball gently into his hands, and whispered, "Don't listen to them, they're wrong. You're my friend." His words were steady, like an anchor against the storm. Cale looked at him, at the warmth in Ethan's eyes, and then at his sister, who clutched the toy bird tightly with a smile. His heart trembled, but for the first time, he didn't feel like running away. He tightened his grip on the ball, lifted his head and threw it back to Ethan. Harder this time, the game continued, their laughter drowning out the cruel whispers. The passers-by stopped to watch, some curious, some frowning, but in that small circle, the 3 children created a world of their own, a world where friendship mattered more than bloodlines or prejudice, a world where an orphan's smile could shine as brightly as anyone's. As the game grew faster, Lyra stumbled and nearly fell. Ethan caught her just in time. Their laughter burst out again. Free and unafraid, Cale watched, and for the first time since losing his parents, he felt his heart grow lighter. He was still cautious, still worried, but he couldn't deny it anymore. This human child had given them something precious. Hope. The moment was fragile, beautiful, but shadows lurked nearby. The same alien eyes that had watched them last night were watching again. A tall figure hidden in the crowd, his gaze cold, his jaw tight. He whispered to himself, "This will not be allowed." Then he vanished into the busy market. The children didn't see him, didn't hear his words. They were too busy chasing the ball, too lost in their laughter. Cale even forgot his fear for a while. Shouting in joy as he caught the ball midair, Ethan clapped, cheering, "Yes, you did it!" Lyra spun around happily, holding her toy bird high as if it were celebrating with her. The sky above shimmered with light. The noise of the market faded from their minds, and for a little while 3 lonely hearts beat together as one. But deep down, Cale still felt a warning. He knew happiness never lasted long for orphans. He knew someone, somewhere, would try to take this away, and he was right. The next few days passed with small moments of joy. Kyle, Lyra, and Ethan met in the quiet corners of the city whenever they could. They shared food, played simple games, and told stories of their lives. For Lyra, it was like living inside a dream. Her laughter returned, brighter each day. For Kyle, it was harder. His heart still carried scars. But every time Ethan smiled, The weight on his chest grew lighter. But happiness never stayed hidden for long. In the marketplace, whispers began to spread. Alien merchants muttered while packing their stalls. "The orphans have found a human friend," others scoffed. "What business does a human child have mixing with strays?" Their voices were quiet but sharp. Like knives in the dark, Cale noticed the stares, the disapproving glances. He felt them every time he walked through the streets. He wanted to shield his sister from them, but Lyra was too busy holding Ethan's toy bird and giggling at his jokes. For her, the world had turned warm again. For him, the storm was just beginning. One evening, as the children played with the leather ball near the abandoned fountain, a group of alien adults stopped nearby. Their robes marked them as elders of the district. Respected voices whose words carried weight. They whispered to each other, but their voices were loud enough for Cale to hear. "This is dangerous. A human mixing with our orphans will only bring shame. Those children should know their place. They will never belong, and that human, he will regret wasting his time." Cale's stomach tightened. His hands shook as he caught the ball. He looked toward Ethan, who was laughing with Lyra. Unaware of the harsh words, for a moment Cale wanted to run, to hide his sister before the anger of the crowd grew worse. Later that night, when Ethan had gone home, Cale sat with Lyra in the shadows of a broken wall. The stars above seemed cold. His sister leaned against him, smiling sleepily. "He's really our friend, isn't he?" she whispered. Cale wanted to say yes, but fear tightened his throat. He thought of the guards, the mocking children, the elders' cruel whispers. Instead, he said softly, "I don't know how long this will last." His sister's smile faded. "But why, brother? Why can't we just be happy?" He didn't answer because he didn't know. Meanwhile, Ethan faced his own storm. When he returned home, his mother frowned at him. "Ethan, people are talking. They say you've been spending your time with orphans in the market." His father's voice was firmer. "It is not safe, do you understand? They are not like us." Ethan clenched his fists. "But they're not bad, they're just alone. They're my friends." His voice shook, but his eyes were steady. His parents exchanged a worried glance. They saw the fire in his heart, the determination that would not bend easily. Still, his father warned, "Be careful, Ethan. If you stand with them, others will stand against you." The next day, the children met again. Cale's eyes looked heavier. Ethan's jaw was set with new defiance, and Lyra's smile was still shining but fragile. They sat together near the edge of the market, and Ethan finally spoke. "People don't want me to play with you." Lyra's eyes widened with fear. "Will you stop?" She whispered, clutching the toy bird tightly to her chest. Cale looked down, expecting the worst. He had learned long ago that promises never lasted, but Ethan shook his head firmly. "No, I won't stop. You are my friends. And no one can tell me not to be your friend." His words carried a strength beyond his age. His eyes burned with a courage Cale had never seen before. Lyra's smile returned, her relief shining like starlight. Cale, however, felt torn. His heart wanted to believe, but his mind warned him of danger. He remembered the cold eyes that had watched them in the crowd. He remembered the whispers of the elders. He knew something was coming. That night, while the city quieted, Kyle couldn't sleep. He held his sister close, staring at the sky. His thoughts swirled with fear and hope. Somewhere out there, forces were already moving. He could almost feel them pressing closer, and far away in a hidden chamber, the same tall figure who had watched them before knelt before the district council. His voice was like poison. "The human child is breaking our order. He is giving the orphans what they do not deserve. This must be stopped." The council's silence was heavy, and then one voice answered coldly, "Very well. We will remind the orphans of their place. And if the human insists on helping them, he will learn a hard lesson too." The night was colder than usual. The city's bright markets had gone silent, stalls locked, lanterns dimmed. Only the echo of distant footsteps remained. Cale and Lyra huddled together in the shadow of a crumbling stone wall. Lyra's toy bird clutched tightly in her hands. Cale whispered to her, "Stay close. Don't move unless I say so." His voice was calm, but inside, his chest was full of fear. Ethan had promised to meet them that night. He said he had something special for them. Cale didn't know what it was, but Lyra's excitement had kept her awake. She kept asking, "Do you think he'll bring another toy? Or maybe warm food?" Cale wanted to smile at her hope, but his heart was heavy. He remembered the whispers of the elders, the cruel eyes of the children, the warning from the guards. Something felt wrong tonight. Suddenly, the sound of laughter broke the silence, not kind laughter. Harsh, mocking voices that sent chills down Kyle's spine. From the darkness, a group of older alien boys appeared. Carrying sticks and stones in their hands, they sneered when they saw the orphans. "Well, look who we found, the street rats," one of them jeered. "And where is your little human pet tonight?" Kale stood up quickly, shielding Lyra with his body. His fists clenched, though he was smaller and weaker. "Leave us alone," he said firmly. His voice trembled but didn't break. The boys laughed louder, circling them like predators. "You think you belong here? You think a human makes you worth something? Pathetic." One swung his stick against the wall. The crack echoing through the empty street, Lyra whimpered, clutching her brother's shirt. Before Kale could move, a stone flew past his face. Hitting the wall behind him, another landed near Lyra's feet. She gasped, her eyes filling with tears. Kale shouted, "Stop!" But the bullies only grinned, enjoying the fear. Then a voice rang out through the darkness. "Hey! Leave them alone!" It was Ethan. He ran into the alley, his face red with anger. His small hands gripped a wooden stick he had brought with him. He wasn't bigger than the bullies, but the fire in his eyes made him look fearless. The leader of the bullies sneered, "Ah, here's the human, come to save your pets?" He stepped closer, raising his stick. But Ethan didn't back down. He stood between Kale, Lyra, and the bullies, his arms spread wide. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. His voice was steady, stronger than Kale had ever heard before. For a moment, silence filled the alley. Then the bullies burst out laughing. "One human against all of us?" one mocked. But when Ethan didn't move, when his feet stayed rooted firmly, their laughter wavered. There was something unsettling in his courage, something that made them hesitate. Still, the leader snarled, "Fine. Let's teach you all a lesson." He swung his stick toward Ethan. But before it could land, Kale grabbed a loose stone from the ground and hurled it. It struck the bully's arm, making him yelp. "Stay away from him," Kale shouted, his voice no longer trembling. Lyra, though scared, picked up another stone. Holding it with shaking hands, Ethan tightened his grip on his stick. Together they formed a small line of defense. The bullies growled, but something changed. They saw not weak orphans and a foolish human, but three children standing shoulder to shoulder, unbroken. Their unity was stronger than fear. For the first time, the bullies weren't sure, one muttered. "They're not worth the trouble, let's go." The leader glared, rubbing his sore arm, but finally spat on the ground. "This isn't over," he growled before backing away. The group disappeared into the shadows, their threats lingering in the air. When silence returned, Kyle collapsed to his knees. Breathing hard, Lyra clung to him, her tears finally falling. Ethan dropped his stick and knelt beside them. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft again. Kale looked at him, his heart racing. "Why did you do that? They could have hurt you." Ethan smiled faintly. "Because you're my friends, and friends don't leave each other behind." Those words broke the last wall around Kale's heart. His eyes stung with tears, but for the first time, he let himself cry in front of someone who wasn't his sister. He whispered, "Thank you," and the weight of years of loneliness seemed to lift. Lyra hugged Ethan tightly, her small voice muffled against his shirt. "You're the best friend we ever had." Ethan hugged her back, his eyes firm with determination. "And I always will be." But even as they found comfort in each other's arms, danger hadn't ended. In the distance, the council's messenger listened from the shadows. His cold eyes gleamed as he whispered, "The order has been broken. The punishment will come soon. The night may have been theirs." But a storm was already gathering. The morning came too quickly. The streets of the alien city bustled with noise once more, merchants shouting, children laughing, and guards patrolling. Yet for Kale, Lyra, and Ethan, the warmth of their small victory the night before still lingered. They had stood together against the bullies. For the first time, Kale believed that maybe, just maybe, they weren't completely powerless. But shadows were never far, unseen by the children. Whispers had already reached the council. "The human boy is protecting the orphans," one elder said sharply. "This is dangerous. If it continues, others may start to question our order." Another replied coldly. "Then it must be stopped before it spreads." A decision was made, and plans were set in motion. Meanwhile, Ethan had brought something new to share. When Kale and Lyra met him near the abandoned fountain, he was carrying a small blanket and a pouch of dried fruit. "I thought you might need this," he said cheerfully. He spread the blanket across the cracked stones and offered the fruit. Lyra's eyes glowed with joy and Cale's chest tightened. How long had it been since someone treated them with kindness like this? As they sat together, Ethan finally asked the question he had been holding back. Why are you always alone? Where's your family? His voice was careful, gentle, but the question hung in the air like a heavy stone. Lyra lowered her head, hugging the toy bird tightly. Cale's jaw clenched. He wanted to stay silent. But Ethan's eyes were steady, waiting not with judgment, but with care. Slowly, Cale spoke, his words halting. They're gone, our parents. They died in the sickness 2 years ago. Nobody wanted us after that. Nobody wanted to take us in. Ethan's eyes softened with sadness. He reached out, placing a hand on Cale's shoulder. I'm sorry, he whispered. Kyle stiffened at first, but didn't pull away. The warmth of that touch was more powerful than he expected. Then Lyra added in a small voice, people said we were cursed. They said if anyone became our friend, they would suffer too. Her words trembled, tears glistening in her glowing eyes. That's why nobody talks to us. That's why we had no friends. Until you. Ethan's hands curled into fists. His voice grew firm. That's not true. You're not cursed. You're just children. You deserve love like everyone else. His words carried no hesitation, no doubt, and Cale felt something stir in his chest. Hope. Fragile but real. But even as truth brought them closer, danger crept nearer. A shadow fell across the fountain. The children turned and saw an alien man in dark robes. One of the council's messengers. His gaze was sharp and disapproving. So it's true, the man said coldly. The human wastes his time on orphans. This cannot continue. Kyle stood quickly, pulling Lyra behind him. Ethan stepped forward too, his fists clenched. They are my friends, Ethan said loudly. You can't stop us from being together. The messenger's lips curled into a cruel smile. Oh, child, you don't understand. In this city, friendship is not for everyone, and if you defy the council, you will face consequences. He turned sharply and walked away, his robes trailing behind him. Cale's heart pounded. His worst fears were coming true. Lyra clung to him, whispering, Brother, what will happen? Ethan looked at both of them, his face pale but his voice strong. Let them try, I won't leave you, no matter what they say. That night, Ethan told his parents everything. He spoke of the bullies, of the council's messenger, of the orphans suffering. His mother listened with tears in her eyes. But his father grew tense. Ethan, this is bigger than you think. The council will not allow this. They might punish you or worse, those children. But Ethan's voice was firm, unshaken. Then let them. I won't stop being their friend. His father stared at him for a long moment, then sighed heavily. You're just a child. But your heart is stronger than most men. Still be ready, son. A storm is coming. Back in their dark corner of the city, Cale whispered to Lyra, maybe we should stop seeing him. Maybe it's too dangerous. His sister shook her head quickly. No, brother, Ethan is different. He's the only one who cares. If we leave him, we'll be alone again. Her small voice broke. I don't want to be alone anymore. Cale's heart ached. He held her close, staring at the stars above. Torn between fear and love, he didn't want to lose his sister's only light. And far away in the council chamber, the elders gathered once more. The messenger bowed before them. The human defies us. The orphans grow bold. What shall we do? An elder's voice answered with chilling finality. Then we will make an example of them all. So the city remembers the price of disobedience. The decision was sealed, and though the children didn't know it yet, their bond had just placed them in the path of a storm that would change everything. The city was restless. Rumors spread faster than the wind. Everyone had heard. The human child was still seen with the orphans, and the council was not pleased. Some whispered that punishment was coming. Others smirked cruelly, waiting to watch the orphans be dragged away. Kyle felt the weight of every stare as he walked through the streets. His sister's small hand clutched his tightly, her glowing eyes full of worry. Ethan met them near the old fountain, his face pale but his spirit unbroken. We can't keep hiding, he said, his voice steady despite the fear he carried. If they want to stop us, we'll face them together. Kyle shook his head quickly. It's too dangerous. You don't understand, Ethan. They'll hurt you too. Ethan's jaw tightened. Maybe, but I won't run away. Not from you, not from her. He looked at Lyra, who hugged the toy bird to her chest, her eyes brimming with tears. You're my friends, and I'll stand with you. No matter what happens, That same evening, the council made their move. Messengers in black robes appeared in the square, calling for silence. Crowds gathered, their whispers filling the air at the center. The eldest of the council spoke, his voice sharp as ice. "These orphans," he said, pointing toward Kale and Lyra, "bring shame to our streets. They defy their place. And now they corrupt even outsiders. This must end tonight." Gasps rose from the crowd. Guards stepped forward to seize the children. Lyra clung to her brother. Trembling, Kale stood tall, though his knees shook. Ethan rushed in front of them, spreading his arms wide. "No," he shouted, his voice ringing across the square. "You can't take them. They're not cursed, they're not worthless, they're just children like me." The crowd fell into stunned silence. No one expected a human child to challenge the council. The elder sneered, "You dare defy us, human? You risk punishment for yourself." Ethan didn't flinch. "Then punish me too, because I won't let you hurt them." His words burned like fire, and something unexpected happened. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few voices rose, hesitant but clear. "He's right. They're only children," another whispered. "Why should they be treated like dirt? They've done no wrong." The council elder's face darkened, but the voices in the crowd grew louder. A merchant stepped forward. "My son saw them play. They laughed like any other child. What curse is there in that?" A woman cried out, "Enough of this cruelty. Let them live." For the first time, the people began to question the old order. The council guards hesitated, unsure. Their authority had never been challenged like this. Kale's heart pounded as he watched. Hope flickered where only despair had lived. He whispered to his sister, "Do you see? They're listening. They finally see us." Lyra nodded, tears shining on her cheeks. "Because of Ethan," she whispered. The council elder shouted angrily, trying to silence the crowd, but Ethan raised his voice again, stronger than ever. "If you want to take them, then you'll have to take me too, because they are not alone anymore." Silence struck the square. His words echoed, heavy and unshakable, and in that silence, something broke. The chains of fear that had kept the people quiet for so long. One by one, more voices rose. "Let them be. They deserve a chance. They are not cursed. We will not stand by any longer." The council could no longer control the tide. Their power cracked under the weight of truth and courage. The guards lowered their weapons, uncertain. The elder's face twisted with fury, but even he knew when the people had turned. With a final glare, he spat, "This is not over," before storming away with the council. The crowd slowly dispersed, murmuring with excitement and disbelief. Kale stood frozen, his chest tight. He looked at Ethan, who turned back to them with a tired but bright smile. "You're safe now," he whispered. Lyra ran forward, throwing her arms around him. "You saved us," she cried. Kale stepped closer, his voice shaking. "No. You gave us something no one else ever did. You gave us hope." Ethan's parents arrived then. Pushing through the crowd, his mother knelt, tears streaming. "Ethan, you were so brave." His father's eyes softened, filled with pride. "You've shown more courage than most men in this city." He looked at Kale and Lyra, then back at Ethan, and with a deep sigh he said, "If you call them friends, then they are welcome with us." Kale's breath caught. His knees almost gave way, Lyra gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. "Do you mean?" she whispered. Ethan's father nodded firmly. "Yes, no child should be left alone from now on. You have a home with us." The weight of years of loneliness shattered in that moment. Kale dropped to his knees, tears streaming freely. Lyra clung to him, crying with joy. Ethan hugged them both tightly. "We're family now," he said softly. The night sky above glittered with stars. Brighter than ever, the city was forever changed. The whispers of cruelty had been silenced by the voice of one brave human child. And in the heart of two alien orphans, something bloomed at last, belonging. They had no friends before, no family, no one to hold their hands, but now they had Ethan, and with him they had a new family, a family that even the galaxy could not take away.